My name's Ethan. I'm 38 and I'm a software engineer in Silicon Valley. Yeah, that glittering tech utopia where everyone's either building the next big AI or pretending they are on X. A few years back, I sold my startup to one of those big tech behemoths for a cool couple million. Picture me now. Nice house in Palo Alto, a Tesla that hums like a smug spaceship, and a fridge stocked with craft beer. Life's good, right? Except my heart's emptier than a Git repository before its first commit. I've debugged complex systems at 3 a.m., but somehow I couldn't debug my own loneliness. Silicon Valley's a circus. Half the people here are chasing IPOs, the other half are posting TED Talk style rants about disrupting the future. Me? I'd rather kick back at the Tipsy Coder, a craft beer joint in Palo Alto where my buddies and I roast the latest tech bro disasters. Think Theranos level flops, but with worse hoodies. We sip overpriced IPAs and laugh about the time some startup promised blockchain for your dog's feelings. Spoiler, it tanked. This place is my sanctuary, where I can escape the buzzwords and just be Ethan, the guy who codes, not the guy who changes the world. But let's rewind to where this whole mess started, my love life, or lack thereof. Back in college, I got my heart shredded by a girl who ditched me for a dude with a guitar and a man bun. I swore I'd never let anyone crack my code again, built walls higher than a server firewall. Then Madison walked in, and those walls crumbled faster than a badly optimized app. I met her at a tech conference in San Francisco, one of those events where everyone's wearing a lanyard and a fake smile. Madison wasn't your typical attendee. She called herself a life coach. Yeah, with 2 million Instagram followers. A smile that could sell toothpaste, and a vibe that screamed, I'm spiritually enlightened, but also I love Coachella. Her posts were all about living your truth, with captions like, the universe is your vision board. I should have seen the red flags when she ordered a $12 oat milk latte and called it energy research. I just called it a quick way to go broke. Still, she had me hooked. At the conference happy hour, she leaned in, her eyes sparkling like a well-designed UI, and said, Ethan, you're the code the universe sent me. Corny? Sure, but I was smitten. My brain went from run error checks to shut up and kiss her in zero point 0.2 seconds. We dated, we laughed, and before I knew it, I was planning a wedding that could have funded a small startup. Our Napa Valley wedding was obscene, 200 guests, a $50,000 vegan buffet, and a string quartet playing acoustic versions of Coldplay. I thought I'd nailed it, marrying a woman who seemed perfect, gorgeous, ambitious, and internet famous. But the cracks started showing faster than bugs in a rushed software release. Madison dropped $10,000 on a vibrational energy photo shoot at Coachella. 10 grand for pictures of her posing in a flowy dress next to a cactus. I raised an eyebrow, but she'd flash that smile, and I'd forget how to think. Then came the real kicker. Over artisanal avocado toast one morning, Madison pitched me her revolutionary meditation app. It's like Calm, but with a wa that reads your aura, she said, her eyes wide with fake passion. I'm a coder. I know snake oil when I see it. But I was in love, or at least I thought I was. So I wired her $50,000 to kickstart development. Spoiler, the only thing that got kickstarted was her shopping spree. Looking back, I was a walking cliche. I'd survived college heartbreak, built a company from scratch, and sold it for millions. But I was still that naive kid who believed in fairy tales. Madison wasn't just my wife. She was a bug in my system. One I didn't know how to fix. I'd spent years debugging code, but no one warned me about a glitch called love. The first real alarm bell was a $20,000 invoice for brand research in Bali. Bali! I pictured her sipping coconut water on a beach while I was stress testing APIs. I confronted her, my voice calm but my gut screaming. What's this about, Mads? I asked, holding up the bill. She tilted her head, her blonde curls bouncing, and said, Ethan, it's an investment in us. Those eyes, man, they were like a DDoS attack on my common sense. I backed off, convincing myself it was just a one-time thing. I was proud, you know? Proud I'd landed someone like her. My buddies at the Tipsy Coder would tease me. Ethan, you married an influencer? Bro, you're living a Netflix special. I'd laugh it off, but deep down I was starting to wonder if I'd pushed commit on the wrong branch of my life. Every time I saw another outrageous charge, $5,000 for crystal-infused candles or $15,000 for a wellness retreat with no itinerary, my coder brain screamed, "Run a diagnostic is..." But my heart, it was still compiling her lies. That's when I realized I wasn't just married to Madison. I was married to a delusion, a perfect, glittering delusion that was draining my bank account and my sanity. And the worst part, I didn't know how to pull the plug. I thought marrying Madison was like pushing a perfect update to production. Smooth, shiny, no bugs. Turns out it was more like deploying code with a hidden memory leak, and my bank account was crashing faster than a server running Windows 95. A few months into our marriage, Madison's visionary projects started piling up like pull requests from an overeager intern. First, it was the meditation app. Then she hit me with a pitch for vegan cosmetics, followed by an online self-healing course that sounded like a TED Talk on steroids. Her latest? A holistic wellness retreat that she swore would redefine mindfulness. Each idea came with a PowerPoint deck flashier than a Shark Tank episode, but with less substance than a crypto white paper. "Coconut oil is the future, Ethan," she'd say, waving a $200 jar of what she called nature's essence. I checked the label. Yep, just coconut oil, with a side of influencer markup. "Gwyneth Paltrow's got nothing on me," Madison added, her eyes gleaming. I wanted to laugh, but the hole in my savings wasn't funny. I'm a coder. I solve problems for fun. But this bug had a name, and it was Madison, reformatting my life one Venmo transaction at a time. The real gut punch came when I logged into our joint account and saw it hemorrhaging. 6 figures, gone in months. Then I found out she'd mortgaged our Palo Alto house, without so much as a text. "It's an investment in our future," she chirped when I confronted her, twirling a strand of hair like she was auditioning for a rom-com. I stared at her, my jaw tighter than a production server during a DDoS attack. "Madison, I debug systems for a living. Don't try to gaslight me with a future talk." I needed perspective, so I turned to my people. First up was Gary, my lawyer, a Texan with a growl like a grizzly, in a mind sharper than a freshly printed circuit board. We met at the Tipsy Coder, where he nursed a stout and fixed me with a look that said, "You're screwed." "Ethan," he drawled, "you ain't the first guy to get fleeced by an influencer. Those Instagram filters, they're hiding a vacuum cleaner aimed at your wallet." I laughed, but it stung. Gary had warned me before the wedding, but I'd been too busy staring into Madison's eyes to listen. Then there was Priya, my best friend from my startup days. She's a brilliant engineer from India with a wit that could roast a tech bro in 3 words. We grabbed tacos at a food truck in Mountain View, the kind of place where you get a perfect al pastor for $5 and a side of life advice for free. "You married an influencer," Priya said, smirking over her horchata. "Congrats, you just signed up for a Netflix drama series," I groaned, tossing a tortilla chip at her. I'm serious, Ethan," she added, her tone softening. "Don't let love make you forget how to read a contract." Her words hit harder than the habanero salsa burning my tongue. I tried to confront Madison again, this time about her wellness retreat. She'd been hyping it as Burning Man meets Deepak Chopra, and I'd wired her another $100,000 for a land acquisition. Big mistake. One night, as I did some digging, call it my coder instincts kicking in, I found the retreat's website, which looked like a WordPress template from 2015, complete with stock photos of smiling yogis. Curious, I cross-referenced the Nevada land parcel she'd bought. Spoiler, it was a dusty lot in the middle of nowhere, worth about as much as a used Prius. No retreat, no plans, just a shiny scam dressed up in hashtag vibes. I stormed into our living room, laptop in hand. "Madison, what the hell is this?" I pointed at the screen where Google Maps showed a barren patch of desert. She didn't miss a beat, her face morphing into that wounded puppy look she'd perfected. "Ethan, you don't believe in my vision?" she said, voice trembling like she was one sob away from an Oscar. For a split second, I wavered. Those eyes. Man, they were lethal. But then I remembered Priya's words about contracts and Gary's warning about vacuums. "This isn't a vision," I snapped. "It's a con." That fight didn't solve anything. Madison doubled down, posting cryptic Instagram stories about overcoming doubt. with sunsets and inspirational quotes. Meanwhile, I was spiraling. I'd built systems that hackers couldn't crack, but my heart, it was running on Windows XP, vulnerable to every exploit Madison threw at me. I started questioning everything. Was I a fool? Or was she just a genius at playing me? The truth was probably somewhere in between, but it didn't make the sting any less real. One night, alone, in my home office, I stared at a photo from our wedding. Us laughing, her in that flowing dress, me thinking I'd won the lottery. Now it felt like I'd bet my life savings on a Ponzi scheme. I'm a coder, I muttered to myself, cracking open a beer. I fix bugs, so why can't I fix this? The answer was simple but brutal. Madison wasn't just a bug. She was a feature of my own bad judgment. And uninstalling her was going to take more than a hard reboot. I thought I'd hit rock bottom when I signed the divorce papers. But life, like a badly coded app, always finds a way to crash harder. Thanks to Gary, my grizzly bear lawyer, the prenup he'd forced me to sign saved most of my assets. Madison got a chunk of cash, enough to fund her vibrational energy nonsense for a year, and vanished, leaving our Palo Alto house emptier than a startup's office after a failed Series A. Oh, and she borrowed my $3,000 espresso machine. I guess it was her trophy for the grand finale of her self-love journey. I laughed it off, but it stung like a 500 internal server error. 2 years later, I was rebuilding. New projects, new code, new me, until Madison reappeared like a pop-up ad you can't close. She showed up at my door with a 3-year-old girl named Luna, all big eyes and tiny pigtails clutching a stuffed unicorn. Madison handed me a DNA test, claiming I was Luna's father, and demanded child support plus a slice of my remaining fortune for our daughter's future. I looked at Luna, her little face so innocent it could have melted a crypto bro's heart, and for a split second I thought, maybe I could be a dad. Then I looked at Madison, smirking like she'd just cracked my password, and my coder brain screamed, "This is a trap bigger than a black hole." I didn't know what to feel. Part of me wanted to scoop Luna up and buy her every toy in Target. The other part, the part that remembered Madison's $200 coconut oil jars, knew this was a setup. I bought a teddy bear for Luna, but kept it in my car, too paranoid to hand it over. What if I was being played? I'd survived Madison once, but this was next level. I needed answers, so I called in Carla, a private investigator, Priya nicknamed the Bloodhound, because she could sniff out a lie from a mile away. Carla was all business, leather jacket, no-nonsense vibe, like she'd stepped out of a noir film. "Ethan," she said over coffee at a diner in San Jose, "if this kid's yours, we'll prove it. If not, we'll nail Madison to the wall." While Carla wrestled with myself, Luna's eyes haunted me. What if she was mine? Could I walk away? But Madison's track record, fake retreats, fake apps, fake everything, made trust impossible. Priya, ever the voice of reason, met me for beers at the Tipsy Coder. "Ethan, you're not just a coder, you're a drama magnet," she teased, clinking her glass against mine. "This is Silicon Valley. Scandal Edition. HBO's probably already pitching it." I chuckled, but my heart wasn't in it. "Priya, what if I'm Luna's dad?" I asked, staring at my IPA. She leaned in, serious now. "Then you'll figure it out. But don't let Madison hack your head again." Carla's first breakthrough came fast. She tracked down records from a Beverly Hills IVF clinic Madison claimed we'd used. Surprise. Surprise. No trace of us. The paperwork was shoddier than a phishing email, with forged signatures and a doctor who'd conveniently retired to the Maldives. Carla slid the fake documents across a table at a greasy spoon, her eyes gleaming. "Your ex is a real influencer," she said. "She's influenced the entire U.S. medical system." I snorted. "Yeah, and my bank account." But the humor was a shield. Inside I was raging. Madison wasn't just a liar. She was a machine, churning out scams like a bad algorithm. Then came the windung. Carla found an encrypted text on Madison's old phone, one she'd forgotten to wipe before leaving. It led to a surrogate mother in Ohio. It's for a woman who'd been paid to carry a child for a wealthy couple. The details were murky, but the surrogate's story didn't add up. Too many gaps, too many cash payments. Carla was on it like a heat-seeking missile. Uh, but I was already spiraling. Luna might not be mine. Hell, she might not even be Madison's. The thought made my stomach churn. I'd coded systems that could withstand cyber attacks, but this was a virus I couldn't quarantine. My humor, usually my lifeline, was turning bitter. Um, at a taco truck with Priya, I tried to joke about it. Maybe I should pitch this to Netflix, I said, echoing her HBO jab. Call it debugging my life. She didn't laugh. Ethan, you're not a sitcom character. Get mad. For the truth. Her words hit like a stack trace pointing to a critical error. I was mad. Mad at Madison. Mad at myself for falling for her. Mad that Luna's big eyes might be part of the con. I lay awake at night, replaying every moment with Madison, the Napa wedding, the Bali invoices, the way she'd smile and make my doubts vanish. Now I was staring at a bigger question. Was Luna a victim, a prop, or both? I didn't know, but I swore I'd find out, not just for me, but for that little girl who deserved better than being a pawn in Madison's game. I've built unhackable systems, I muttered to myself, staring at the ceiling, but my heart, that's still running on outdated firmware. For the first time, I wasn't sure if I could patch it. I've stared down crashing servers at 4 a.m., but nothing prepared me for the courtroom in San Francisco, where my life was about to get debugged in front of a judge, a jury, and, thanks to X live streams, a few thousand strangers calling me the tech bro who got played. Carla, my PI, with the instincts of a bloodhound and the charm of a pit bull, had spent weeks untangling Madison's web. What she found wasn't just a scam. It was a full-on criminal empire disguised as hash live your truth vibes. Luna, the little girl with eyes that could break your heart, wasn't mine. She wasn't even Madison's. She was the child of a shady corporate couple dodging a financial scandal, and Madison was the middleman in a sick game of trafficking kids to rich families. Carla's team uncovered a goldmine. Bank records, encrypted texts, and a recorded call where Madison bragged to her crew, "Ethan's the whale. Hook him, and we're living like the Kardashians." I listened to that audio in Carla's office, my fists clenched so tight I could have cracked my phone. A whale, huh? I muttered. More like a dumbass with a bank account. Carla smirked. You're not the dumbass anymore, Ethan. You're the guy who's gonna sink her. The trial was a circus. Reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. X posts lit up with hashtags like #influencer scandal, and some rando even tweeted, "This coder just debugged a whole-ass crime ring." Inside, Madison sat at the defense table, looking like she'd stepped out of a Vogue shoot. Perfect makeup, tailored blazer, the works. She played the victim card hard, dabbing her eyes with tissue for the jury. I wasn't buying it. Neither was the judge. Carla's evidence hit like a precision missile. First, the forged IVF papers from the Beverly Hills clinic, shredded by a whistleblower nurse who'd had enough of Madison's cash-fueled lies. Then, the Ohio surrogate's testimony, streamed via Zoom, detailing how Madison's crew pressured her to hand over Luna for a better life. The kicker was the paper trail, wire transfers linking Madison to a network that placed kids with wealthy families for seven-figure payouts. The courtroom went silent when the prosecutor played Madison's whale recording. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut him down with a look that said, "Sit down, buddy." I took the stand, my heart pounding like a DDoS attack on a cheap router. Madison stared at me, and for the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Not of me, but of the house of cards she'd built. "Mr. Ethan," the prosecutor asked, "how did you uncover Miss Madison's deception?" I leaned into the mic, my voice steady. "I'm a coder. I find bugs. She was the biggest bug I ever met." The gallery chuckled, but I wasn't joking. I laid it all out. Her fake retreat, the drained accounts, the Bali invoices, Luna's DNA test. Every lie, every dollar, every moment I'd let her hack my heart. Halfway through, Madison's team offered a deal. Plead guilty to lesser charges, pay me back, and avoid the trafficking rap. I could have taken it, walked away with my money and my pride, but I thought of Luna, now safe with her real family, and the other kids caught in Madison's net. "No deal," I told Gary over coffee at a diner near the courthouse. "I want the truth out there for everyone." Gary raised his beer. That's my boy. You're not just a coder, you're a goddamn Avenger now. I laughed, but inside I felt like I was in a Marvel movie, fighting for something bigger than myself. The final blow came when the surrogate's handler, a sleazy fixer from LA, flipped on Madison to save his own skin. His testimony tied her to 3 other adoptions, each shadier than the last. The jury didn't need long. When the guilty verdict dropped, fraud, forgery, child trafficking, Madison's perfect mask cracked. She sobbed. Real tears this time, as the bailiff cuffed her. Outside, the media went nuts, dubbing it the influencer scandal of the decade. I slipped out a side door, dodging cameras, my head spinning. Driving home, I felt empty. Justice was served, sure, but Luna's face still haunted me. I'd never be her dad, but for a moment I'd wanted to. Funny, isn't it? I muttered to myself, merging onto the 101. A guy who writes code, chasing justice like some caped crusader. Priya called as I pulled into my driveway. You okay, hero? She teased. Yeah, I lied, staring at the teddy bear I'd bought for Luna, still on my passenger seat. Just need a beer. The truth was, I'd loved Madison once, or at least the idea of her. Just unmasking her didn't feel like a win. It felt like losing a piece of myself. But as I cracked open an APA and scrolled X, seeing posts about the coder who took down a con, I realized something. I didn't just debug a scam, I debugged my own blind spots. And for the first time in years, I felt ready to rewrite my story without Madison's code running in the background. Madison's trial was the kind of spectacle that Silicon Valley thrives on. Part drama, part cautionary tale. All over X like a viral meme. TechCrunch ran a headline calling it The Influencer Implosion, while the Wall Street Journal went with How a Coder Cracked a Con. Me? Well, I was just Ethan, the guy who'd accidentally become the tech bro who survived this scam. As my buddies at the Tipsy Coder dubbed me, they even bought me a round of IPAs to celebrate. Though Priya smirked and said, "You're paying next time, hero." I laughed, but the spotlight felt weird. I got an invite to spill my story on Joe Rogan's podcast. True story, but I passed. I didn't want to be the guy duped by an influencer forever. I wanted to move on. Madison faced a laundry list of charges. Fraud, forgery, child trafficking. She was looking at years behind bars, and X was eating it up. Posts ranged from justice served to this is why I don't trust influencers. One guy even made a gif of me on the stand, captioned, when your code compiles, but your life doesn't. I saved that one. It was too real. The media frenzy faded after a few weeks, but the scars Madison left, those took longer to debug. I wasn't the same Ethan who'd fallen for her oat milk latte charm. The old me trusted too easily, like a server with no firewall. The new me? I double-checked everything, from contracts to coffee orders. But I didn't want to become some cynical tech bro, hoarding my millions and my heart. So I started small, finding ways to rebuild, not just my life, but something bigger. I signed up to teach coding at a nonprofit in Oakland and working with kids who reminded me of myself at their age. Curious, scrappy, dreaming of something beyond their zip code. The first class was chaos. Think 10-year-olds arguing over who'd be the next Elon Musk. One kid, Jamal, asked me point blank, Mr. Ethan, you ever get hacked? I grinned, leaning back in my chair. Oh yeah, kid, but not on a computer. They laughed, but it hit me how true it was. Madison had exploited my blind spots, but teaching those kids, it was like writing new code for my soul. I wasn't debugging the past anymore. I was building a future, one lesson at a time. Life settled into a rhythm. I bought a new espresso machine, a $200 model that didn't scream. I got fleeced. Every morning, I'd brew a cup, sit on my patio, and watch the Palo Alto sunrise. Priya swung by one weekend, eyeing my coffee setup. Finally, she said, sipping her latte, you learn not to blow $12 on a cup of vibes. I chuckled. Yeah, lesson learned. No more influencer tax. We clinked mugs, and for the first time in years, I felt steady. Not perfect, just steady. That steadiness came from accepting Madison as a lesson, not a life sentence. She'd been a glitch, sure, but she didn't define me. I thought about Luna a lot, though. She was back with her real family, or safe, but her heart big eyes still lingered in my mind. I donated the teddy bear I'd bought her to a children's shelter, hoping it'd find a kid who needed it. It wasn't closure exactly, just a way to let go. One night, Priya and I hit the Tipsy Coder for our usual craft beer ritual. The place was buzzing, tech bros debating AI ethics while a jukebox played Springsteen. I took a swig of my hazy and IPA and grinned at Priya. You know, I'm glad I didn't invest in Madison's NFT scam, I said. Could have been out another mill. She snorted. Ethan, you dodged a bullet or maybe a whole crypto crash. We laughed, and it felt good. Real, not the forced chuckles I'd leaned on during the trial. Sitting there, I realized life isn't like code. You can't debug every mistake or refactor your regrets. Madison taught me that in her own twisted way. But you can keep going, write the next function, test it, and push to production. My new code? Live smarter, trust cautiously, and never ever buy $200 coconut oil. If someone promises to change your life, check your wallet first. And maybe get a prenup. Just saying. As the jukebox switched to Tom Petty, Priya raised her glass. To surviving the influencer apocalypse, she said. I clinked back. To writing better stories. And I meant it. Madison was a chapter, not the whole book. Teaching kids, sipping coffee, laughing with Priya. That was the new draft, and I was ready to keep editing. My final takeaway, the world's full of bugs. Human or otherwise, you don't always catch them in time, but you can learn to spot the patterns. Madison was my crash course, and I passed. Barely. Now, I'm not chasing perfection or some Instagram-filtered dream. I'm just Ethan, the coder who got burned, got up, and kept going. And if I ever meet another life coach with 1 million followers, I'll run faster than a server reboot. Trust me, I've got the scars to prove it.